Christmas and New Year celebrate the same time and all over the world. Let's look at a few pictures to celebrate this holiday. 1. Bad Santa. Bad Santa is a 2003 American Christmas black comedy crime film directed by Terry Zwigoff, and starring Billy Bob Thornton, Tony Cox, Lauren Graham, Brett Kelly, Lauren Tom, John Ritter, and Bernie Mac. It was John Ritter's last film appearance before his death on September 11, 2003. The movie was dedicated to Ritter's memory. The Coen brothers are credited as executive producers. The film was released in the United States on November 26, 2003, and was screened out of competition at the 2004 Cannes Film Festival. Going to throw him out, did not he give the toy to him or not? Willie T. Silk and his dwarf assistant Marcus Skidmore are professional thieves. Every year, Willie disguises himself as a department store Santa Claus and Marcus disguises himself as an elf in order for both of them to rob shopping malls at night, using Marcus' wife Lois as their getaway driver and accomplice. Marcus takes his duty as an elf seriously, but Willie is a sex-addicted alcoholic and is gradually unable to appropriately perform his Santa duties with children, plus his safe-cracking performance is being affected, much to Marcus' dismay. When they are hired at the Saguaro Square Mall in Phoenix, the vulgar remarks made by Willie shock the prudish mall manager Bob Chipska, who brings them to the attention of security chief Jen Slagle. At the mall, Willie is visited by Thurman Merman, a friendly but exceedingly naive and gullible, overweight boy who thinks Willie is really Santa. Thurman is a constant target of bullying by a teenage gang of skateboarders. At a bar, Willie meets Sue, a woman with a Santa Claus fetish, and they begin a sexual relationship. Willie is harassed by a man in the bar, but Thurman intervenes. Willie gives Thurman a ride home, then enters the boy's house where he lives with his senile grandmother. Thurman reveals that his mother died, and his father, Roger, is away exploring mountains. He is actually in jail for embezzlement, until next year. Willie tricks Thurman into letting him steal from the house safe and a BMW owned by Roger. Bob informs Jen that he overheard Willie having sex with a woman in a mall dressing room and Jen starts to investigate. Willie goes to his motel room and sees it being raided, causing him to take advantage of Thurman's naivete and live in his house, much to Thurman's delight. The next day, Marcus gets angry at Willie for taking advantage of Thurman and states his disapproval of Willie's sex addiction when Willie makes a rude remark about Thurman's grandmother. As Christmas draws closer, Willie and Thurman set up for the holiday, with help from Sue. On Christmas Eve, when the heist is almost complete, Willie goes to get Thurman a pink stuffed elephant that he had wanted for Christmas. Just as he gets the elephant, Marcus reveals to Willie that he intends to kill him, fed up with his increasing carelessness year after year. Lois tells him to hurry up and kill Willie so they can get away with the money and merchandise. But just as Marcus is about to shoot Willie, the police swarm the trio, tipped off by the letter Willie gave to Thurman. When Marcus opens fire, the police shoot at him and Willie flees. Determined to give Thurman his present, he leads the police on a chase to Thurman's house, ignoring orders to freeze. He is repeatedly shot on Thurman's porch but survives. The epilogue is told through a letter from Willie, who is in a hospital recovering. He expresses his gratitude for Thurman in giving the letter to the police and his name was cleared of the robbery, adding that he will be working for the police as a sensitivity counselor. The shooting of an unarmed Santa embarrassed the police, and Sue is granted guardianship over Thurman and his house until Thurman's father is released. Willie also explains that Marcus and Lois are doing time behind bars for their actions, while expressing hope that Roger is wise to avoid the two. Willie ends the letter by telling Thurman that he should be let out of the hospital soon and for him to be ready for his return. When the lead skateboard bully harasses Thurman again, Thurman finally stands up to him by kicking him hard in the crotch and riding away on his bike giving the finger. 2. A Christmas Story. A Christmas Story is a 1983 American Christmas comedy film directed by Bob Clark and based on Gene Shepard's semi-fictional anecdotes in his 1966 book In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, with some elements from his 1971 book Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories. The film is presented in a series of vignettes, with narration provided by the adult Ralphie Parker reminiscing on one particular Christmas when he was 9 years old. Ralphie wanted only one thing for that Christmas, a Red Ryder carbine action 200-shot range model air rifle. Ralphie's desire is rejected by his mother, his teacher Miss Shields, and even a Santa Claus at Higbee's department store, all giving him the same warning, "You'll shoot your eye out." Christmas morning arrives and Ralphie dives into his presents. Although he does receive some presents he enjoys, Ralphie ultimately is disappointed that he did not receive the one thing he wanted more than anything. After it appears all of the presents have been opened, Ralphie's father, the old man, directs Ralphie to look at one last present that he had hidden. Ralphie opens it to reveal the Red Ryder gun he wanted. Ralphie takes the gun outside and fires it at a target perched on a metal sign in the backyard. However, the BB ricochets back at Ralphie and knocks his glasses off. While searching for them, thinking he has indeed shot his eye out, Ralphie accidentally steps on his glasses and breaks them. He lies to his mother that a falling icicle broke his glasses, and she believes him. Ralphie is in bed on Christmas night with his gun by his side. The adult Ralphie narrates that this was the best present he had ever received or would ever receive. 3. Gremlins. Gremlins is a 1984 American comedy horror film directed by Dante and released by Warner Brothers. The film is about a young man who receives a strange creature called a mogwai as a pet, which then spawns other creatures who transform into small, destructive, evil monsters. Randall Belzer, a struggling inventor, visits a Chinatown antique store in the hope of finding a Christmas present for his son Billy. In the store, Randall encounters a small, furry creature called a mogwai, Cantonese, devil. The owner, Mr. Wang, refuses to sell the creature to Randall. However, his grandson secretly sells the mogwai to Randall, warning him to remember 3 important rules that must never be broken: do not expose the mogwai to bright lights or sunlight which will kill it, do not let it get wet, and never feed it after midnight. Randall returns home to Kingston Falls where he gives the mogwai to Billy as a pet. Billy works in the local bank, where he fears his dog Barney will be captured and killed by the elderly Mrs. Beagle. Randall names the mogwai Gizmo and Billy makes sure to treat him well. When Billy's friend Pete spills a glass of water over Gizmo, 5 more mogwai spawn from his back, a more troublemaking sort led by the aggressive Stripe. Billy shows one of the mogwai to his former science teacher Mr. Henson, spawning another mogwai, on whom Henson experiments. Back at home, Stripe's gang tricks Billy into feeding them after midnight by severing the power cord to his bedside clock. They make cocoons, as does Henson's mogwai. Shortly after, the cocoons hatch and they emerge as mischievous, reptilian monsters that torture Gizmo and try to murder Billy's mother, while Henson is killed by his gremlin. All of the gremlins are killed except Stripe, who escapes to a local YMCA and jumps into a swimming pool, spawning an army of gremlins who wreak chaos around Kingston Falls. Billy tries to warn the police, but they don't believe him. Many people are injured or outright killed by the gremlins' rampage, including Mrs. Diggle, who is launched out of her house on a stair lift that has been sabotaged by the creatures. At the local bar, the gremlins have fun until the barmaid Kate Beringer, Billy's girlfriend, flashes them with a camera and escapes into the bank with Billy and Gizmo. While hiding, she reveals her father died in a chimney while dressed as Santa Claus. Billy and Kate discover the town has fallen silent and the gremlins are watching Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs in the local theater. They set off an explosion, killing all the gremlins except Stripe. Billy chases Stripe into a Montgomery Ward store, where Stripe climbs into a water fountain and tries to spawn more gremlins. Gizmo arrives in a toy car and opens a skylight, exposing Stripe to sunlight and melting him. In the aftermath of the rampage, Mr. Wing arrives to collect Gizmo, scolding the Peltzers for their carelessness, thinking the Western world is not ready, but comments that Billy might someday be ready to care for Gizmo properly. Gizmo likewise believes so, having become attached to Billy. Mr. Wing departs with Gizmo in tow. 4. The Ice Harvest. The Ice Harvest is a 2005 thriller comedy film directed by Harold Ramis and written by Richard Russo and Robert Benton, based on the novel of the same name by Scott Phillips. It stars John Cusack, Billy Bob Thornton, and Connie Nielsen, with Randy Quaid and Oliver Platt in supporting roles. On Christmas Eve in Wichita, Kansas, mob lawyer Charlie Arglist and crooked businessman and pornographer Vic Kavanaugh gather together the $2 million they have stolen from their boss Bill Gurd. While it initially appears that there will be an easy getaway for the pair, they learn that the roads out of the city are too icy to drive on. Vic takes the cash for safekeeping and they split up and try their best to evade being captured by Gerard and his men, who have discovered their scheme. Charlie visits Sweet Cage, a local strip club, owned by Renata Crest, a woman whom Charlie has long lusted after, and she quickly deciphers that he's hiding something. He hints at the existence of the money, and she suggests they go off together. Before they can do that, however, she tasks Charlie to find an incriminating picture of a local politician, in a hotel. Charlie goes there and runs into his friend Pete, who is married to Charlie's ex-wife. Pete is very drunk, and tags along with Charlie for as long as it takes for Pete to pass out. Charlie goes back to Renata and gives her the photo, and she tells him that Vic had called her earlier and said that Charlie had been right about mob enforcer Roy Gell's tailing them. Charlie goes to Vic's house and finds Vic's wife dead. Vic arrives and reveals that he's locked Roy in an industrial trunk. The two stuff Roy, in the trunk, in Charlie's ex-wife's Mercedes, which Charlie borrows after Pete vomits in Charlie's Lincoln, and head for a local lake. On the way, Roy continues yelling at the two of them, and Vic gets annoyed and shoots at the trunk. Charlie and Vic get the trunk down to the dock, but it's shot open from the inside and Roy gets out, shooting Vic in the process. A shootout ensues, ending with Roy dead and Vic fell into the frozen lake. Charlie realizes that Vic was going to kill Charlie and take the money for himself, and leaves Vic to die. Returning to Sweet Cage, Charlie finds that Bill Groat himself has come and tied Renata up. Charlie finds a shotgun in the bar and turns it on Gerard. Another shootout ensues, with Charlie being injured and Gerard killed. Charlie and Renata go back to her house, and Charlie finds the money hidden there. It's revealed via flashback that Vic and Renata were planning to go off together after Vic had killed Charlie. Charlie kills Renata just before she can kill him. Charlie and Pete then drive off together, deciding to make new names for themselves. 5. The Muppet Christmas Carol. The Muppet Christmas Carol is a 1992 American musical fantasy comedy drama film produced by Jim Henson Productions and distributed by Walt Disney Pictures. Adapted from Charles Dickens' 1843 novella A Christmas Carol, it is the fourth theatrical film to feature the Muppets and the first to be produced following the death of Muppets creator Jim Henson in 1990. On Christmas Eve, in 19th-century London, Charles Dickens, played by Gonzo the Great, and his friend Russo act as narrators throughout the film. Ebenezer Scrooge, Michael Caine, a surly moneylender, does not share the merriment of Christmas. Scrooge rejects his nephew Fred's invitation to Christmas dinner, dismisses two gentlemen collecting money for charity, and tosses a wreath at a carol-singing Bean Bunny. His loyal employee Bob Cratchit, played by Kermit the Frog, and the other bookkeepers request to have Christmas Day off since there will be no business for Scrooge on the day, to which he reluctantly agrees. Scrooge leaves for home while the bookkeepers celebrate Christmas. In his house, Scrooge encounters the ghosts of his late business partners Jacob and Robert Marley, played by Statler and Waldorf, who warn him to repent his wicked ways or he will be condemned in the afterlife like they were, informing him that three spirits will visit him during the night. At 1 o'clock, Scrooge is visited by the childlike ghost of Christmas past who takes him back in time to his childhood and early adult life, Dickens and Rizzo hitching a ride too. They visit his lonely school days, and then his time as an employee under Fozziwig, Mr. Fezziwig from the original story, played by Fozzie Bear, who owned a rubber chicken factory. Fozziwig and his mother throw a Christmas party, where Scrooge meets a young woman named Belle, whom he falls in love with. However, the ghost shows Scrooge how Belle left him when he chose money over her. A tearful Scrooge dismisses the ghost as he returns to the present. At 2 o'clock, Scrooge meets the gigantic, merry ghost of Christmas present who shows him the joys and wonder of Christmas Day. Scrooge and the ghost visit Fred's house where Scrooge is made fun of. Scrooge and the spirit then visit Bob Cratchit's house, learning his family is content with their small dinner, Scrooge taking pity on Bob's ill son Tiny Tim, played by Robin the Frog. The ghost of Christmas present abruptly ages, commenting that Tiny Tim will likely not survive until next Christmas. Scrooge and the ghost go to a cemetery, where the latter fades away. The ghost of Christmas yet to come then approaches Scrooge, appearing as a tall, silent cloaked figure. While Dickens and Rizzo abandon the audience to avoid being frightened, the ghost takes Scrooge into the future. Scrooge and the ghost witness a group of businessmen discussing the death of an unnamed colleague where they would only attend the funeral if lunch is provided. In a den, Scrooge recognizes his charwoman, his laundress, and a local undertaker trading several stolen possessions of the deceased to a fence named Old Joe. The ghost transports Scrooge to Bab's house, discovering Tiny Tim has died. Scrooge is escorted back to the cemetery, where the ghost points out his own grave, revealing Scrooge as the man who died. Realizing this, Scrooge decides to change his ways. Awakening in his bedroom on Christmas Day, Scrooge decides to surprise Bob's family with a turkey dinner, and ventures out with Bean, Dickens, Rizzo, and the charity workers to spread happiness and joy around London. Scrooge goes to the Cratchit house, at first putting on a stern demeanor, and then revealing he intends to raise Bob's salary and pay off his mortgage. Dickens narrates how Scrooge became a secondary father to Tiny Tim, who escaped death. Scrooge, the Cratchits, and the neighborhood celebrate Christmas,